Hey there, and welcome to today's webinar titled Why ERP Platforms Matter, sponsored by Rootstock. I'm Mike Hockett. I'm the editor of Industrial Distribution magazine, which is one of Advantage Business Marketing's manufacturing publications, and I'll be moderating today's discussion. On my publication at Industrial Distribution, the topic of ERP is one of the most popular topics for thought leadership discussion. I get a whole bunch of articles submitted by ERP subject matter experts offering their insights and advice for distributors when it comes to getting started in ERP, maximizing software, how to navigate moving it to the cloud, and it's the same story on Advantage Business Marketing's other manufacturing publications. Whether it's on manufacturing business technology, manufacturing.net, food manufacturing, or our chemical manufacturing brand. There's just major interest in ERP across the whole sector of manufacturing. So why is that? The simple answer is that ERP is an incredibly useful and powerful tool for manufacturers of all types. If you're selling products and have a lot of transaction data to process, ERP, in a nutshell, can handle a lot of the heavy lifting that is otherwise done by manual processes. ERP software has many features for managing everything from orders and invoices to inventory to warehousing, staffing, and beyond. Basically, it puts your entire business operation at your fingertips. But those are just the broad strokes of what ERP is and why it's important. Today's webinar will go in depth to discuss why ERP platforms matter. To do so, we've recruited a trio of industry experts to share their knowledge on this topic. We'll discuss the role of cloud ERP platforms and how they enable the modern manufacturing workforce, why combining CRM and ERP on one platform is critical, and you'll learn how a 90-year-old Matouk company digitally transformed their business with ERP, and a lot more. So let's meet today's panelists. Tom Brennan is the Chief Marketing Officer for Rootstock Software. He has 30 years of professional experience in ERP and business software. He has had many executive roles, including VP of Marketing at Financial Force. Stuart Kiley is the President of Digital Strategy for Matouk Company, which designs and makes finely crafted linens and home accessories, where he oversees all internal and external digital initiatives required to meet strategic objectives. These include Matouk's e-commerce business, mobile technologies, the company's cloud-based ERP infrastructure, business analytics, and other digital platforms. Next up, Patrick Mulligan is an enterprise architect at Salesforce. He has over 25 years of experience delivering business value by providing strategic enterprise architecture expertise. His focus has been on the alignment of business and technology resources to maximize revenue and minimize cost while providing dial tone reliability for business continuity and risk management. He's a certified master enterprise architect and works to build world-class cloud-based applications and systems leveraging the Salesforce.com platform. Last but not least, that was the last panelist. I want to remind our audience that for any member viewing this presentation live, you can send us your questions on this topic via the chat box, which we'll use during a Q&A session following our panelist presentation. Also, this webinar will be made on demand shortly after this live event, so starting then, you'll be able to watch it anytime and share it with anyone. So, without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to our panelist team, starting with Tom Brennan.
Thanks, Mike, and welcome everybody to the webinar. As you can probably tell, we have a three-part play for you here. And what we asked first to lead off is Patrick Mulligan to take you through the different types of clouds that are out there to lay the groundwork. Then we asked him to talk about how Salesforce came about building their cloud and what they've put into it as background. Then one of the next things we're going to dive into is talk about one of the hot topics in ERP these days and in manufacturers is artificial intelligence and analytics and taking advantage of those. I'm going to talk a little bit about that and the role of combining CRM and ERP in the cloud in order to do that. And then last but not least, certainly is we're bringing on Stuart, and as mentioned, Stuart's going to talk about how he took the Salesforce and Rootstock cloud and how he made very significant improvements to his business. So with that, I'd like to hand it over to Patrick, and he can take you through clouds. Patrick?
Hello, everyone. Patrick Mulligan here. Super happy to be here. It's a real privilege. And as Tom said, I'm going to talk a little bit about clouds in general and kind of how we got to where we are and the various platforms, and I'll dive into the Salesforce platform for a little bit and how that affects how you deliver to the business. So around platforms, one of the things that I want to bring up is...
We can go to the next slide, please. Slide 2. Thank you.
Yep, thank you very much. It's basically, platforms are not new. If we look at an example here in the automotive industry, right in the 70s, the automotive industry was very successful in developing a platform of common designs and engineering production efforts to devise a componentized architecture in which to produce many different vehicle types that service a lot of different needs on a single platform. And what that did is it allowed them to meet market conditions at speeds previously unheard of, capitalizing on customer feedback quickly and capturing market shares. And today, manufacturers even share and license designs to each other using this approach. And so the IT industry, like the automotive industry, has evolved over time to address complex issues of infrastructure and things like that. But by making infrastructure really very easily consumable, that is what clouds and platforms are all about. And a little history here is we started with infrastructure as a service, and that probably started in the early 2000s to mid-2000s. And it was really, when you're talking about infrastructure as a service and cloud, it was really more of a business model than a technology. You're basically renting space, networking, air conditioning, getting out of the physical data center expenses. It did offer some benefits, there's no doubt about it. But it was more of a lift and shift kind of mentality, right? Simply rehosting things, right? But it doesn't release your critical IT resources, right? You're still on the hook to basically do all of the care and feeding of your entire stack of technical debt. It just moves the problem. Then we moved on to platform as a service, as an evolution, and this truly was a big step forward, and it was basically taking a lot of core infrastructure of business applications like databases and security, networking, et cetera, identity, and making them, and relieving the customer of handling that and managing that. And it made these services instantly available and at scale. It does provide some critical relief. It allows you to focus on business needs, but it's still a really heavily IT-centric development environment. A lot of heavy software development, and the business value delivery can still suffer from a long list of integration needs, and which often lead to long production cycles. Then we finally moved on to software as a service, or SaaS, and the industry figured out that business value often stems from the aggregation of a number of core services, not just single siloed information. And you blend these things together to deliver truly some value. And this was the next evolution, and this was really focused on delivering value in a configurable fashion without much development, if any at all, and eliminating a lot of costly integrations. So finally, it brings us over to the right, and the Salesforce application platform as a service. And this is I would say, the final frontier that's at the pinnacle right now, which means that this is a collection of services that you'll see here, declarative aspects, globalization, GDPR, encryption, all different things here that are easily consumed. They're like microservices that are available. But the key here is that this is all what we call a no-code or low-code platform, where you do your development and with clicks and not codes, and you can move very, very quickly. But another part of our platform in particular is all the services on the right are instantly available, but they're also aware of each other. And that any data on the platform can be shared seamlessly with zero integration. And what I mean by zero integration, it means that your data is instantly usable by other applications to drive value. What does that mean? That means that it can develop new functionality, get it tested in production very quickly. And what happens here is this allows for the leveraging of data in a holistic manner and to build and extend upon the Salesforce SaaS offerings directly for a better customer experience. Next slide, please. I'm going to take you through a brief tour of the Salesforce platform and how it really all comes together. You really need to think of this as one system, one architecture with many applications. if you look at the very two bottom tiers here, and in particular, we have our trusted infrastructure, and this is where our world-class multi-tenant architecture lives, and that's what is the secret sauce that allows things to happen fast. It's also what allows people to develop quickly without any interference from heavy-duty infrastructure down at the bottom of the stack. We monitor all of that. When you deploy on this platform, you're instantly ISO 27000 compliant, and you also meet the world's most stringent security standards. Transaction times are in the milliseconds, and the availability is approaching 4 nines. All of this infrastructure is 100% transparent to you, freeing you out to have your resources focus on business needs. If we take up to the next level here, you'll see data and APIs and things like collaboration, and this is the core of our microservices, and this is what allows your data to be leveraged in a holistic manner. So when data is at this level, it's simply protected by security profiles, so you can cross-reference the usage of that data between many different applications. And of course, we realize that you're never going to have all your data on one platform. So to the left, we can grab any data. We have a number of integration techniques that are out of the box very quickly to access cloud or on-premise information systems as well. And we call all of this basically platform services. And as we move up the stack, there's more abstraction and more usability. And this is what allows us to deliver our Lightning design system, a complete user experience design system in infrastructure. It also is where we are now bring in some very powerful artificial intelligence in our Einstein suite of products, and that is basically gives you the ability to have artificial intelligence across all of your data and across multiple applications. On the right-hand side there, you'll see our Trailhead learning system, and that is a open public system. We don't charge for it, and we believe in culturing a great workforce out there that will utilize this platform. The next level up is our world-class SaaS applications, and we have everything from sales and service, marketing, communities for collaboration, analytics, e-commerce, IoT, and this is where all of these applications are things that we provide as SaaS offerings, but we use the same core services that anybody else would when developing an application on the platform. And if we take the next step up, we go into the Salesforce App Exchange. And that's the application exchange, and that's where Rootstock lies. And we have, this is a vibrant economy of partners that leverage this platform. They leverage this entire stack, some transparently down at the bottom, but then they're able to leverage all these core services and put together and deliver enhanced business capability that is leveraging your data at a holistic level. What happens is we have about 3,000 partners out there, and they're offering everything from utility components to very discrete vertical expertise across many industries like Rootstock. So to summarize this, a good analogy is to think of the Salesforce platform as your iPhone, your Android device. Your phone is really, truly one system, one architecture, and hosts many applications. If you remember the last application that you downloaded onto your phone, try to remember how simple it was. You went to the App Store, the Play Store, you selected the application, you said install. It took a few minutes to come down, and it may have even asked you some questions like permission to use your contacts, your camera, your location, or other applications that may be on the phone. This is an example of that cross leveraging, that holistic use of data and applications on a single platform. But what I'd like you to think about is how easy and fast the application was installed, how easy it was to leverage your data across the applications, transparently leverage the core data services and the microservices of the phone itself, all of it with no integration, and the value that you receive very quickly. Next, please. So this brings me to my final slide here and how we've kind of changed the industry on how we deliver and implement on the platform. So on the platform on the left is how the industry's done it for a very, very long time. I've been in the business for over 25 years, and I was very much a part of this model. The bulk of the resources always being focused on the core infrastructure versus delivering on differentiating capabilities. Every siloed application we stood up, we just had a lot of redundancy. We had the same, put another server in, put another tech stack in, and then deliver some value that was not connected to the enterprise. Triangle to the right depicts on how we do it at Salesforce. So we flip this, and we free you from all the infrastructure, all the operations, and we let you focus on your apps, delivering on your data, your innovation, and using clicks and code. So what this means for the manufacturing space is you spend your time operating in the interactions between the front and the back office, and you get your business capabilities delivered in an agile and accelerated way. And at the end of the day, the real advantage is to have as much of your data in one place, because that's what allows you to really leverage the analytics and advanced artificial intelligence that the platform offers out of the box. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Tom. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Patrick. I love that slide. This whole idea where you're focusing on the apps that run your business, not the infrastructure and everything else. I think the industry, we've seen those stack diagrams for years. And unfortunately, with a lot of platforms, you still have to do the integration between all those stack pieces. Whereas with the Salesforce platform, I love how you said that everything's aware of each other. And whether it's our app that we've built or your own app, you instantly get workflow or social media or mobile and things from that by doing that. We'll see a little bit of that when Stuart talks. So if we could go to the next slide, we talk a little bit about analytics and AI, very hot topic these days in the industry for a lot of real good reasons, actually, a very powerful set of tools on it. One of the things about analytics and AI is when you look at the cloud, you have to think about, well, if you want to start doing that, what's the role in it, and how are you going to go about doing it? Now, regardless of what you choose in terms of kind of platforms and things, one of the most important things about analytics and AI is that data really matters. These systems use lots of data. They go across the enterprise, if you will, and so you need to be able to access that very easily and not get into a full sort of data transformation process. And I'll show you what I mean by that. But go to the next slide. If you look at a lot of companies today, you've got sort of a divide between systems like this today. You've got CRM in one system, ERP in the other. One might be cloud, one might be on-premise. But there's this divide where processes have to traverse this chasm, if you will. The order to cash process, as an example, has to do that. And the data about your business is broken up into these bigger pieces. And even worse, and we'll talk about this with Stuart, even worse is your customer's data is broken up in different pieces. So if you're in sales and the customer asks you, hey, where's my order? How's it going in manufacturing? Someone in sales can't see that because it's in an ERP system. And if someone is in the receivables area and is getting ready to call someone about a late due invoice, they may want to know whether there's a service call on the Service Cloud, and maybe the customer's having a problem before they start chasing them. So there's some very practical things that data causes, but really when you look at the whole AI and analytics space, it's really, really important. So one of the key things I wanted to tell you, if you're looking at clouds, why do they matter? It matters that you be able to pull your data together in one place so you can take advantage and build off of the AI and stuff and things that are out there. You don't want to get into a big data transformation project and get bogged down just with that, trying to get the data in one place. You want to be able to work from it. So if we go to the next slide, you'll see a little bit just visually of the way we see it. So we built our Rootstock ERP product on the Salesforce platform, so everything's all in one place. And from the apps that the sales team use, marketing, finance, operations, and service, they're all literally in one place. And so processes come when someone comes in the door, you do a quote, you go through order to cash process, you deliver, and you service that customer. It's all in one. All the processes go across, and all your users actually are able to see that process and see the system and data across all that architecture, if you will, or the platform, if you will. So CRM and ERP are one platform. And probably one of the best things is, and we'll show you some examples of this here in a minute, if we go to the next slide, is that all your customer data is in one place. And so all that stuff you see there in the middle, is in one place. So your sales quotes, the marketing landing pages that people hit on your website, your receivables and finance, what orders are on the shop floor, how deliveries are doing, service calls that are happening, maybe field service, they're all in one place. And so now your company's in position to do what's called first call resolution, where that customer calls anybody in the company, doesn't matter, everybody will have everything they need to know about that customer in one place. So if they call someone in service, you'll be able to tell them what's going on with their order and on down the line. And the quote up there is actually from Stuart, is that you're going to see how he's able to use combined data in CRM and ERP to give a more personalized service, let alone, you'll see in a minute as well, is the visibility that he gets across his entire enterprise and how he can manage the business with more information from that. So if we go to the next slide, what we'll see now is that what Matouk has done is they put Rootstock's ERP, Salesforce CRM, all into one cloud. And now this is a different representation of a lot of what Patrick showed you, but he's got all those things. There are different things on the right that he's selected various components of that and started to roll out applications inside of Matouk. In particular, we're going to see a little bit on analytics, mobile, chatter, and some communities here. So with that, I'd like to introduce Stuart. Stuart, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks.
All right.
Good to be here.
Great. If we go to the next slide, Stuart, why don't you start off and just tell everybody a little bit about Matouk, the company?
Yeah, so Matouk is about a 90-year-old family business. We're headquartered in Fall River, Massachusetts, probably about an hour south of Boston. And we are one of the probably last domestic textile manufacturers in this area meaning the New Bedford kind of Fall River corridor at one point in history used to be kind of the hotbed of textile manufacturing. And most folks have closed up shop and moved overseas, but we're not only surviving, but we're really thriving here. About 60% of our products are made here in Fall River. We have about 150 employees. We also have a showroom facility in New York City.
Yep, quite an impressive facility. I had the opportunity to tour it. If we go to the next slide, why don't you tell them a little bit about the beautiful linens and the product line that's Matouk built or manufactures?
Sure. So yeah, we make kind of luxury home textiles. So think really, really high-end sheets, bedding, coverlets, duvets, as well as kind of bath linens, so bath towels, shower curtains, those sorts of things. We've traditionally sold kind of as a traditional wholesale manufacturer. We've sold through independent retailers throughout the country, national retailers like Bloomingdale's, Neiman Marcus. We work with a lot of high-end interior designers. And then more recently, we've started working with and introduced a new line of hotel products. So you'll find some of our products in some of the finest hotels throughout the world. And then really recently, we started selling direct at Matouk.com. And, the company's been going through this interesting evolution now as it started to kind of have a conversation and sell directly to the customer. And I think it's a lot of strategically what, we've done here at Matouk with moving all of our infrastructure and all of our systems up to one common cloud is really to kind of help deliver on a long-term vision of a brand that's kind of like making its evolution from a 90-year-old textile manufacturer to one that actually, sells and communicates and has a relationship directly with the customer.
Yeah, you've developed a very personalized approach to business here. Actually, if you go to the next slide, we should probably talk about that. What did you, when you sat down, it's a very difficult business, with a lot of things that got offshored, probably a lot of margin pressure as well. What did you decide as a business on how you wanted to compete?
Yeah, so, the fact that we're one of the few domestic textile manufacturers left, it's important for us to figure out how we can use our manufacturing capabilities as an asset and not a liability. And so we've really kind of focused our product line and our services around personalization and customization and being able to do that at scale. And that ranges from everything from like a big customer like Bloomingdale's might want to prototype something, and we can go from prototype to concept to an actual, working run that's delivered to them in very short time frame, all the way down to single one-off. So somebody wants a really kind of intricate one-of-a-kind piece done, either monogrammed or made to their particular specifications, that's really something that Matouk is uniquely positioned to do. And so for us, it's about leveraging our manufacturing capabilities as a competitive advantage, as an asset in terms of our product line and our ability to work with customers, but also personalizing the experience. And I think increasingly, a company like ours needs to start with a foundation of a really, really strong product. I mean, that kind of goes without saying. But increasingly, if we're trying to create points of differentiation between us and our competitors, it's important that we personalize that relationship as well. So it's not only about being able to kind of create one-of-a-kind products, but it's our ability to be able to maintain these relationships and know our customers in ways that our competitors won't be able to do, and really kind of establish a competitive advantage around personalization, not only from a product and manufacturing capability, but frankly, from like a data and relationship management point of view as well.
Yeah. Would you mind just telling everybody a little bit about what you had in place before you went to the cloud?
Yeah. So prior to this massive initiative that went live last January, so we've been live on this new platform for about a year and a half now. Our systems were really disparate. So we had kind of like a homespun, custom, on-premise application that would manage kind of our work orders and manufacturing processes. We had a completely separate and isolated accounting system. The two really didn't talk to each other. And then we didn't really have any customer system of record at all. We had like literally the customer card in our financial accounting system was the extent of our CRM. So you could imagine the ability for us to kind of get information out, marry it up was very, very limited. And we realized that it was going to, prevent us from really executing on, a longer term vision of leveraging our personalization from a manufacturing standpoint, but also from a relationship management standpoint. It's really difficult to create lasting relationships at scale without having access to technologies and having all of your data in one place. Really data for us, even a company like us, is mission critical. And when it lives, in 30 different systems, it's really, really tough, especially with a staff, a small company like ours, it's really, really difficult to do anything with it, to act upon it, to leverage it as an asset. So, this was a pretty significant change from a very siloed set of systems up to a unified, set of apps that live on one common application or platform, I should say.
Which is a great segue if we go to the next slide. And I was talking about, CRM and ERP live in different places. Can you tell everybody how you brought it together here for your service person using the service console in Salesforce and Rootstock?
Yeah, totally. So this is what you're looking at right here is a screenshot that was designed for our customer service team. We're using Service Cloud, which is one of the clouds that Patrick mentioned on the platform. And not only are we leveraging all the functionality of the Service Cloud, but you can also see in the screenshot how we're marrying together information from our ERP system, which you can see down the right, all this real-time live information right next to all of our other kind of qualitative information or customer service information like cases or contacts or activity history, like, when was the last email they got, when was the last time they called into us. And so really, in our kind of goal and objective to get to this unified view of the customer, this is a pretty, good way to demonstrate the value of having all this information on platform. Now, Salesforce, the platform, is our system of record for really major stuff. Our inventory system of record is on platform. All of our purchase orders, all of our work orders, and all of our sales orders are on platform. So the data you see down on the right is not being pulled, from some off-platform system. It's all living right there. And so the access to it is real time. I think the other thing that is kind of illustrated by the slide here is, and again, one of the benefits of the platform is the ability to integrate and plug and play, with a whole assortment of different apps to meet business needs. You can see on the right there, we're using Tenfold, which is our CDI integration into our phone system. And that literally is something you go to the App Exchange, you plug it in, and there's some hookup to your phone system, and then you're off to the races with the ability to, monitor inbound and outbound calls against a customer. If we recognize the phone number in our CRM, this whole screen just comes up automatically. So as soon as the customer service agent picks up the phone, they have all the information at their fingertips that they need to service the customer. And that's really what it's all about. It's the ability to kind of get a question answered quickly, effectively, and ultimately, all of this leads to increased customer satisfaction and lifetime value around a customer relationship.
Yeah, you got information that's going on in the sales team, cases through your call center, receivables, what's going on with production, invoices, and such, all in one place. Really, really powerful stuff. If we go to the next slide, why don't we kind of talk about this a little bit more? Patrick briefly mentioned Chatter. And Chatter is a social media app that's provided with Salesforce that's inherent in the system. And so sometimes you'll hear about social media apps, and people say, well, why do I need a Facebook in my company? This is a lot different. It's got the same kind of collaborative and conversational capabilities, but it's attached to data objects in the system. So you can have a Chatter conversation about a sales order or an invoice or a customer. And so what allows you to do is to collaborate via a social media app across departments in your company. So Stuart, could you tell them a little bit about how you've done that here at Matouk?
Yeah, so as you were saying, we're kind of leveraging something that's out of the box, no configuration really at all. It's a social network, if you will, that lives on the platform and allows us to have dialogue conversations across departments, across the organization, real time around objects like sales orders or purchase orders or work orders, things that ultimately relate back to a customer. And the beauty of this is, it's built in. It's built into the product, so there's really no configuration. And the amount of collaboration that it allows across departments, is incredible. If you think back before we had this, we're looking at a screenshot of a sales order here, and you're looking at a back and forth between a customer service agent and somebody in our data entry team. That conversation in the old world used to happen either over email or, get up and swing by somebody's desk or make a call. There's no paper trail of it. It's completely, an isolated conversation, and there's no visibility of other people, on the team. And so here you've got that whole back and forth, that whole dialogue that's happening around the subject, which is this exact sales order. So, as the sales order moves through the fulfillment process, or if the customer calls and has a question about it and another customer service agent answers, like the whole dialogue is right there. And it's really, really great for not only collaboration across departments, but also, getting information ultimately out to the customer really, really quickly. And it's throughout the entire platform. So wherever you're at, whether you're on your mobile phone and using it through the Salesforce application, whether you're at your desktop, whether you're on a tablet, whether you're in the building or, on the other end of the world, all of it's happening right there in real time.
Yeah, I've been reading a lot about manufacturing's real concern about how to attract kind of a younger and maybe more technically adept workforce to do some of the things that manufacturers want to do. And, folks today expect to have, social media tools at work. They expect their business apps to work like their personal lives, and this is a great example of that. In fact, speaking of which, when we go to the next slide, let's talk a little bit about mobile. And I think one of the unusual things I saw on the next slide, please. Yeah, there we go, mobile. When I was walking on the floor, you actually have mobile devices on the shop floor. Can you tell everybody about how that works for you?
Yeah, so, being a manufacturer and having this system in Rootstock that allows us the ability to, at a much higher level of granularity, track work through the shop floor. We have about 15,000 pieces of WIP on the shop floor at any given time. It's probably across something on the order of about 1,500 to 2,000 work orders. So we have a lot of pieces, a lot of units kind of flowing across the floor at any given time. So we're kind of like in a high volume manufacturing environment here. And a lot of the folks, a lot of those 150 people who work here at Matouk are operators. They don't sit at computers. They're artisans, and they're at machines, and they're actually constructing this stuff all day. But we still need to get the data to them. We still need to bring the conversation to them. They need to interact with the data so that we can have the visibility to scale our personalization. But they also, we need to kind of connect them into the customer service environment so that there's that direct feed, from the customer right into the shop floor, like where the stuff is being assembled in real time. And so, what you're seeing here is some screenshots from the custom app that we developed. I think, there's a spectrum on which the Salesforce platform allows you to build your own. So there's, you can use the Salesforce app, which we do, and I'll talk about that in a second, which is a completely out-of-the-box mobile solution. But you can also leverage Salesforce's APIs and their security architecture to build completely one-of-a-kind apps to suit a business need. So in this instance, we built one that allows operators using an iPod Touch to book labor as work kind of flows through the process. So it gives us completely real-time visibility into where a work order is at all of our various work centers in the manufacturing process. You can also see that within this custom app that we developed, we're pulling in native objects like Chatter. So we're bringing the conversation in a very easy way, right to that manufacturing operator, right to the palm of their hand. And so the back and forth between the front of the office and the shop floor, again, can happen in real time. You get the notification on the floor. It's a question from the customer, and it finds exactly where that is in the manufacturing process. Again, dialogue about it right there. I mean, if I kind of like had to imagine for a company our size, the ability, for us to create our own custom mobile app, especially in the old world and an on-prem system, I wouldn't even know where to start. I mean, there'd be firewall issues and servers and all this stuff that would probably be beyond the scope of a company our size. But on the platform, this is really easy. So, we work with an implementation partner called Mountain Point out of North Carolina, I believe. And, they helped us build this and go from kind of concept to working prototype in a matter of weeks at a very reasonable cost.
Oh, that's amazing. You typically think of mobile being out with, say, salespeople. There you've got it right in the shop. This is real powerful stuff. Why don't we switch gears a little bit and talk about that sales channel you were mentioning earlier on. For everybody's sake, I think Patrick mentioned this as well, but there's a capability inside of Salesforce called Communities, where you can take various aspects of what's inside of Salesforce and CRM and your own custom objects or in Rootstock and make it available to outside communities, and it's up to you of who you put those out to. And so if we go to this next slide here on the sales portal, Stuart, if you tell everybody about what you did here to make information available to the sales channel.
Sure. So this example, we're using another one of the platform features called Communities, Salesforce Communities, to basically bring in stakeholders at various points into the information within our organization in a very secure way. And this community was created in-house with clicks and not code. It was very easy for kind of a non-developer to set this up, but we're leveraging kind of all the security models and the infrastructure of the platform to deliver this information to these stakeholders in a very secure way. So we work with a number of independent reps around the country. They're not employees of Matouk. They're independent contractors, but they need information in real time. And before we made this move, our customer service team would be inundated with calls from independent reps, and they were looking for inventory quantities. They wanted to know the status of an open order. They wanted to get like a summary or business review on a certain account that they were going to go to visit. We would send out sales reports on like a monthly basis, so really kind of a long kind of delay there of getting the information out to the reps. And so we leverage these communities now to bring in the reps with the goal being that we should be able to answer almost any single question they could possibly have in a self-service way on any device anywhere in the world. And that's exactly what's happening here. And this community is really, I think, solves two, I wouldn't say solve the challenge, but I guess solve the challenge on one hand and then create a lot of opportunity on the other. It solved the challenge of the need for our customer service team to be answering questions to our reps. So our call volume, once we introduced this portal, went down by orders of magnitude. Our sales reps almost never call anymore because they have the same access to the same information that the customer service has in the exact same kind of real-time way. So if a work order moves from work center A to work center B, or if our inventory changes from point A to point B, they see it immediately. There's no delay. It's the same exact information. So in that respect, it's kind of created operational efficiencies in our ability to kind of service and support our independent sales rep. But perhaps more importantly, we've given, by way of the data and by way of this portal, which by the way, 80% of our reps use this and interact with this portal through the Salesforce app in a mobile form factor, so either on their phone or in their iPad. But we've kind of given the information to our sales reps to allow them to sell smarter. So that, could be arming them with the information that they need to answer questions as they're going into to visit an account, or we give them tools and information, that helps them perhaps upsell or cross-sell and deliver more value to that customer for themselves and for the business. So I'll give you a quick example. We built this functionality that allows a rep, and we're using an app exchange partner called Conga to do this. They click a button on their phone, and it generates this 4-color beautiful presentation that is a snapshot of all the business they're about to walk into. So now they're armed with a snapshot of how that business has been trending over time historically, kind of what has been popular with them, maybe perhaps what they're not buying but that they should be buying. And it gives the rep a heck of a lot more information and insight to be able to help service and grow that business. So this has been a big win for us.
Yeah, to clarify, some of those salespeople are not employees, correct?
None of them are
part of your channel.
They're all independent reps. Yeah,
independent reps. So you're able to securely provide information out to them through the portal. If we go to the next slide.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. And the security model is like, just one more piece on that is like, these people might come with a request of, hey, can you get me this information? And our ability to just build a report on the platform and throw it in a folder that's shared out through the portal, it's literally a matter of minutes to be able to deliver that information. And the security model is built in. So like by way of their login, they're limited to the information that they can see. So we don't have to worry about any of that stuff. It's just driven by the security model of the community.
You've done a similar thing for one of your key suppliers. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I think this point actually illustrates a couple, obviously the power of the community, but a couple of other concepts as well that I think are very real when working on the platform. So we have this business challenge where we work with a subcontract manufacturer to sometimes offload capacity where we're kind of like filled up to the brim. And when this happens, we would route, our work order routing would change and have to go out to the subcontract manufacturer, and we were really struggling with like, how do we track the work orders that are flowing out to this subcontractor and understand kind of where they're at in the process, when do we expect them back? And it was handled on emailing spreadsheets back and forth, and there was version control issues, and it was a mess. But the interesting thing I think about how this came to be was it really came out of a meeting with our manufacturing team, and they had realized what we had built on the sales side with the sales portal, and the quote from the manufacturing team was like, well, what if we built a similar community and brought the vendors in a secure way to see exactly kind of the work orders that are going out to them. And it was kind of like an aha moment, because I think it really kind of illustrates, how information and this ability to solve business problems using technology, can become more distributed to the non-IT team. Like, the idea of dreaming up something, whether it be a portal or, hey, I want a notification every time something like this happens, or, hey, can I fire a chatter message if this event happens, or can I get this and download it to here? Like, these are all things that regular employees can kind of like think of. And, to some extent, we have a Salesforce administrator here who helps them actually set it up on the back end, but they're getting an understanding of like how the platform can be flexible to solve their business challenges and improve efficiencies, versus, feeling like they're trapped by whatever technology that they're using. And so this is kind of, I think, illustrative of how a platform and the flexibility offered by a platform like Salesforce allows employees across the organization to think like entrepreneurs, like think like creative problem solvers, and figure out how the technology can be used to suit them.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. And so I guess for the last point here before we wrap up your section here, why don't you tell us a little more about what kind of visibility you're getting across the organization now that you have everything on one platform. If we go to the next slide, please.
Yeah, so when I look at this, I kind of think about a quote that some of in God we trust, everybody else bring data, and we in our old system, we kind of had this challenge where it's like there was really no singular view of the truth. We would have kind of meetings and we'd talk about metrics, but like it was totally not clear where the information was coming from, whether they were the right metrics to be measuring. And all that was really kind of level set as we moved everything onto one platform and then our capabilities on the platform. So now with Salesforce and Rootstock, every department gets a dashboard on a certain time interval. Like some of them go out daily, some of them go out weekly, and they're all kind of like helping focus the department and the organization at a high level on the shared common goals. And it's funny, when we first started rolling these out, you could kind of feel the discomfort in the organization. It was like, whoa, I didn't know that they would have visibility at that level in terms of like what exactly was going on. And there was like, a period of probably a couple of weeks where there was some standoffness about like the ability of, all this information being shared. But very quickly, the bit was flipped and it became, more of rallying everybody around a common goal. And so I think when we look at some of the quantitative, ROI that we've had, since rolling out all of our systems up to the cloud, like it's really about the access and the visibility to information across the organization, and how that kind of helps steer everybody from, somebody who's on the shop floor to customer service, to marketing, to fulfillment center, to finance, all towards a common goal. And it really has helped kind of drive results and also create a sense of shared accountability, but we also kind of celebrating the success. This dashboard that you see here is our one that goes out to our manufacturing team, and it's tracking, our percent on time completion. And, I can tell you that when, when we're kind of going through a lot of, volume and it kind of dips a little bit, you can feel, the desire to get it back to, a 95% plus on time delivery rate. And it's just great to kind of see how the information can be shared to really kind of help improve business results and frankly morale. I mean, I think that there's like, there's something to be said about celebrating success, and when you see that information come across every day, it's kind of like a rallying cry to constantly want to do better.
Yeah, it's great stuff. If you remember that slide I had with the divide between, sometimes the divided data creates the Hatfields and McCoys, and then it translates into the culture and us versus them and all that. So it's great to hear that not only do you get visibility, but you're bringing everybody together. So Stuart, if we could, we'll go to the next slide here. If you could just kind of wrap up, I guess we got a couple minutes here. If you just kind of tell us your kind of overall benefits that you've gotten out of it.
Yeah, so I mean, I think if I had to classify benefits, we've got operational benefits. We've got customer-facing benefits, and then I think a third set of like, just setting us up for the future. And so operationally, we've seen, just through the visibility and information and having all this information in one place and much more granularity, we've seen a huge reduction in our manufacturing cycle time, went from like 4 weeks to 10 days. We've seen much tighter management of our inventory, so we've grown sales, by an order of 15%, but we kept our finished goods inventory level flat. And that, again, is really just about, planning, visibility, and being focused on, safety stock levels and all the information that's provided by Rootstock system, and allowing us to kind of operate the business more efficiently. I think the customer has seen a lot of benefits, our ability to kind of have all that information at our fingertips, the ability to kind of get that information out to various stakeholders like the sales reps, has really kind of like helped us improve the relationship with some of our customers. And then I think lastly, I think it's set us up for the future. So, we're a 90-year-old textile manufacturer. Who would have thought that we're on a platform that, we could conceivably be using some of the most forward-thinking, artificial intelligence technology, and it's basically built into our ERP system, or it's built into the platform on which we run our business. So, playing with and kind of thinking about, how AI, can affect us is just one example of many of like where we can go, and we have the ability to grow the business, based on this platform decision that we made.
Yeah, thanks, Stuart, so much. I think one of the fascinating things, you had one of the best years ever while simultaneously implementing ERP. You don't hear that too often out in the marketplace.
No.
Really appreciate.
I'm not going to say I didn't get a couple of gray hairs. I mean, I did have a couple of gray hairs.
Oh, it was easy, right?
But it was all in all pretty smooth.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. Thanks again for sharing your story here. Okay, if we just go to this last slide, then we'll go to some questions. I'll turn it back to Mike. If I could just make a few points here to kind of encapsulate what we've been talking about. So one thing, when you're looking at clouds, one of the big things we wanted to get across here is that not all clouds are created equal. Patrick was showing you different types of architectures that are out there. They're all being sold as clouds. Some of them are literally stacks of technology that you have to integrate and put together. Whereas, as we've been showing you here, with the cloud, you get things that are self-aware, and all these other components come with it, whether it's chatter or mobile or on down the line. So one of the ways I look at it is it allows you to operate more like a software company. And I think you even said it better, Stuart. You were talking about everybody can be more of an entrepreneur, and they're thinking about how they can create an app to solve a problem that they're working with, and it's not just stuck in the bastion of IT to go fix those things. So it's really kind of, to me, a big transition. And what you need to look out, folks, is this platform going to let you now focus on apps and not infrastructure? Is it really going to do that? Get past a lot of the marketing hype and the stacks and all that. Secondly, or thirdly, we were talking about unifying your CRM and ERP data. Don't cause yourself another data integration problem. Make sure you know how that's going to be handled from the outset. So once you have that, then you start doing some of the things that you saw Stuart deliver there, whether it's visibility across the business in terms of analytics, or it's visibility across the customer. And one of the big, I think, lessons learned out of Stuart's situation is that the cloud should enable people. And you can see he did things with customers, suppliers, sales operations, and even the corner office. And it's now taken on inside the culture of the company. But that's a really important thing. And especially as as I mentioned, you're trying to go to a more technical and maybe even a younger workforce, it's a really important thing to do. So look at what clouds do for you in that regard. Then the last thing and really important thing is we started off with Matouk's business strategy and what they're all about and how they were going to differentiate it. And Stuart selected the components and pieces that he needed in order to do that. And I would recommend to all of you to do the same. Start with the end in mind, if you will, and then map the cloud to what your business goals are. So with that, I'll turn it back to Mike, and hopefully we have time for a couple of questions.
All right. Yeah, great stuff by you guys. Obviously, we've shown more than anything that, the cloud or ERP platforms are certainly important. And as I alluded to earlier, they're always top of mind for our audience across all of our different manufacturing publications. But we're not done yet with today's program. As I mentioned in the intro, we're now going to move into an audience Q&A session where we're going to use some of the questions that the audience has been submitting. And we got about 7 or 8 minutes here, so we'll see how many we can squeeze in here. But even if we don't get to your question, feel free to keep submitting your questions via your chat box, and our audience or our panelist members will be able to follow up with you guys on those questions. So let's kick things off here. Looks like I'm going to say that these first couple questions are probably better geared for Patrick. So let me get going here. This audience member, they say can I have my on-premise system integrate with any of these cloud platform models, or is there kind of any restrictions there? So does Patrick, can these audience members, would they be able to have their on-premise system integrate with these cloud platforms?
Absolutely, Mike. We believe in a coexisting strategy. It's not realistic to even think for a minute that every piece of data will be in the platform. So we support all of the modern protocols, REST and SOAP and what have you, the integration patterns, as well as all the latest and greatest security protocols as well.
All right. And actually, let's go over to Stuart with this next question. Stuart, obviously a lot of talk about Rootstock in this webinar, but this audience member asked, what other apps on the App Exchange are you using besides Rootstock? You still got Stu with us? Go ahead. He may have fallen off
Sorry,
here.
guys, I was on mute there. Sorry, my bad.
Oh, sorry. All right, yeah, Stuart, go ahead.
Yeah, I got the question. I was just on mute.
Sure.
So probably we use a bunch of them in all different corners of the business. One of them is ZenCraft. ZenCraft is one of our partners that helps us integrate to FedEx. So we're a FedEx shop. We ship about 300 boxes per day out of our fulfillment center through ZenCraft and FedEx. It's all on platforms. So our scales, our barcode scanners, our thermal label printers, they all hook up into Salesforce via ZenCraft and then integrate out with FedEx. And, I think, like, again, the power of the platform, like, even something like shipping and integrating to a shipping carrier, when you're using something like ZenCraft, it's a couple of clicks. So it's, one of our big customers came to us and said, hey, we want you guys to drop ship, but we want to use our UPS account. Well, we're a FedEx account and we're a FedEx shop. We didn't really have a UPS pickup, but literally it was a matter of just like turning on the service, through this plugin, and we were off to the races with UPS. And even more advanced things like, if some kind of newfangled shipping method like Uber Rush, I'm not sure if it's still around, but like, if something came up that was completely out of the box or a different method for getting boxes from point A to point B ever came to be, we wouldn't have to worry about integrating to it. It would just be a matter of, turning to a partner and turning it on within the environment. Really, really easy. So we probably use about, 7 or 8 different paid app exchange apps in our org. And then we use a bunch of other kind of, freeware out there that integrates to Salesforce.
All right. This next question looks like it's also aimed at you, Stuart. This audience member asks, it sounds like you have a small IT staff, so I'm curious, how have you accomplished so much? I think, they're just wondering how you've done so much on that kind of tech side with so little.
Yeah, so we do have a small IT staff. Actually, it's we have one in-house Salesforce admin who really kind of lives more on the back end of Salesforce, not a Visual Force or Apex developer. So I think a lot of this stuff is pretty easily configured by business users. But we did work with this partner, Mountain Point, who's an implementation partner, one of many out there in the Salesforce ecosystem, not many that we use. We just use Mountain Point. And they were pretty critical in terms of, helping kind of set up, configure, build things like, our mobile app or a custom Visual Force page that we needed, things that were kind of out of our skill sets, if you will. We didn't have them in-house. They could kind of, pick from their kind of team. I will say, again, one of the other benefits I think of the platform is Salesforce is investing huge amounts of money into their Trailblazer, Trailhead program, and as Patrick was saying, all of this information is out there for free and it's available, and so it's created both a developer ecosystem, an implementation support ecosystem, but also it also gives kind of like a roadmap for internally for people to kind of grow and learn the system. So if somebody here internally wants to know really how to build a report, using the analytics cloud, you just point them to a Trailhead, tutorial, and it's right there. So it's really, really easy to kind of like pick things off the shelf, focus areas, whether it be sysadmin type stuff or, standard out of the box front end functionality, and train people on it and get them up to speed really quick. But yeah, it was a pretty small team that we used to implement and make this move to the cloud. It took about probably a year of prep before the transition. A lot of that was more, I think, specific to our business and the fact that we didn't have builds of materials or routings for all of our products. And so we had to kind of go out and build them all in order to kind of move them into this new system. So I think the long tail on our implementation was more on us to kind of like create data that didn't exist yet so that we could take advantage of some of the features that Rootstock offered.
All right, impressive stuff. Looks like we got time to squeeze in one more question, so let's go back to Patrick with this next one. Patrick, this audience member says, are you telling me that your Einstein AI analysis features are available to my own customer apps as well as the Salesforce Cloud Sales as a Service offerings? It looks like they're just wondering about the accessibility of it. Are those features available to their own customer apps and the Salesforce offerings?
Well, the short answer to that is yes, absolutely. And if you go back to my iPhone Android analogy, the Einstein analytics and artificial intelligence services are enhanced services built on the core. They're available to Salesforce SaaS applications, your custom applications, App Exchange partners, whoever's on the platform. All you have to do is enable the holistic data leverage lever and leverage that data via security profile, and you're off and running.
All right. Well, we're right at the hour, so that's all the questions we'll be able to get in today. So that's going to conclude our discussion for today's webinar called Why ERP Platforms Matter. I know we got a lot of questions that we didn't get to, so our panelists will be able to follow up with those members of the audience that we didn't quite get to, so stay tuned for that. So just wrapping up here, to Patrick, Stuart, and Tom, I want to thank you guys again for taking the time to be here today and offer your insight with your presentation and your Q&A responses just now. Like I mentioned a couple times, this topic and all these topics that you guys have brought up here today, they're going to remain popular talking points among our just various audiences on our different brands here as more and more manufacturers are implementing ERP every month, and they're soon going to be trying to figure out how to maximize its potential now that it is up and running. So before we sign off, real quick, I want to give our panelists one last chance to share any final thoughts or words with the audience. So let's start with Patrick, then Stuart, and then Tom. Any last words or thoughts for the audience? Patrick, over to you.
Just as you've learned today, the power of a platform. You know, the industry has evolved, and your business can evolve with it and make full leverage of an integrated platform. And that would be my advice, and cut down your integrations to a bare minimum because they're always expensive and you got to maintain them. So get your data in the platform or in one place as soon as you can.
All right, over to Stuart.
I'd say it's there is my key thing is like, I think the ability to kind of run like business critical applications like finance and ERP, you know, on a cloud infrastructure like the Force.com platform, it's there, you know. So if you're thinking that the technology, you know, might not be quite there yet, I'd double click that and look again because, it works great.
All right, Tom, anything to add?
Yeah, I guess I would say it's, you know, the cloud's not an IT thing. It's a business and people thing, and I think Stuart did a great job showing that today.
All right. Well, I definitely want to thank Rootstock for sponsoring today's event, and of course I want to thank everyone in the audience who tuned in today, either live or after the fact. Like I mentioned earlier, this webinar will be made available on demand starting just a little bit after this live presentation wraps up. So starting then, you'll be able to view it whenever you want and share it however you want. So one last thank you to everyone involved, and have a great rest of your day.